Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today in this video where we're going to be talking about family and what that actually means. The reason I've decided to pick this topic today is because in my area of work, the idea of family means different things to different people. Some families are seen to be the perfect family, and others are seen to be, according to society's definition of family, dysfunctional. But who gets to decide? What does dysfunctional actually mean? And what does perfect look like? Does that mean the families that are considered to be perfect don't need to strive for anything else? Because they're already perfect, there's nothing to strive for. Do the kids need to even work hard? Parents, is there anything that they need to learn or pass on to their network? For dysfunctional family, the automatic definition of that a lot of the time is that one of the members of the family is either no longer involved, or if both parents are involved, they are not capable of meeting their children's needs. And some people would argue that they're not capable of having children. Let's go with that for a second. Say the definition is that they're not capable of having children. What happens to the children they already have? Because on the one hand, as a society, if those children are taken away, we have the same society arguing that that should not have happened. But you've just labeled these people as not being capable. But then let's flick it around a little bit and actually take it from the other aspect and say, who gives you the right to decide that they're not capable of having children? Everybody at some point in time faces difficulty. They face challenges. That challenge doesn't define that person. What it does do is that, yes, it can make things a little bit tricky. Perfect in terms of what society labels as perfect, all that pretty much means is that that person seems to have some level of resources that these other people don't seem to have access to. Is that a family network? Is that access to good school? Is that access to good jobs? Is that access to good medical or professional support? Is that access to friends that could step in their hours of need? And this is where social work comes in. Social work comes in to be able to provide those resources that society, according to the definition, provides already to the perfect families. This is society's definition of mine. To these other families that do not already have access to that. A lot of the time what we find is that, yes, there are struggles with maybe substance misuse. Yes, there are struggles with maybe domestic violence. Yes, there are struggles with maybe lack of access to resources. Yes, there are struggles to access support, either medical support or therapeutic support, to overcome some of the challenges that these individuals already find themselves. Social work's place is about reconnecting our families with those support, opening the way sometimes And when these doors are open, what that then allows our families to do is be able to connect to those channels. It's about empowering them with those skills that what we define as perfect family already have. We're trying to also empower these other families with those skills so that they can reach out for this support. Are you struggling with substance misuse? It's not great. It's not great because there's an indirect impact on your children. If you're not physically able to function, it means that your children become exposed to all of that, and the cycle of abuse becomes even more apparent because that's what the children have seen and that's what they know. You can't expect them to do something else if that's what they know, because you're the role model. You can't say, I don't want my children to follow my footsteps, but then what you're showing them is completely in contrast of what you want. We model the things that we want our children to follow, and that's what we try and educate families about. And sometimes it is tricky because as professionals, what we try and do is not blame anyone for the condition or situation that they find themselves, because there are a lot of tools, a lot of history, a lot of difficulties, a lot of positions that they themselves would have been placed in that would have resulted in them finding themselves in the situation. What we try and do is get them to touch base with their own emotions. Go back in time. We travel back in time with them to their own childhood of being children. And if there has been a history of these sort of situation that they find themselves, how were they feeling at that point in time? Because only then can they connect to what their children are feeling now. And what is it as a child did you wish could have been different about your own family? That didn't happen. Now you've got the opportunity as a parent to make your child's wish come true, because it's possible that your child is wishing exactly the same thing. That's what social workers do, reconnecting families. That's the first goal. Is it about connecting with social network? The GPs, the doctors, the therapists, the play groups, all of that. Because sometimes families find themselves overwhelmed by the positions that they're in. Maybe as a family you weren't prepared for being parents because you just didn't have that level of learning. That is fine. But by giving you access to that level of support, that prepares you for that. Families is what we make of it. And sometimes it cannot always be within our birth families. It can also be outside of our birth families, where a mother or a father has not been available to be able to provide that male or female role model. We need to be able to identify somebody else that can fill in that place. Sometimes it could be an auntie, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend, it could be a teacher. Identifying that person is crucial to the development of our children. Sometimes we feel ashamed with the position we find ourselves. what would like to encourage is that you don't feel ashamed. Whilst that's a normal sort of feeling to have, and whilst we would say it is okay to feel uncomfortable sometimes, feeling uncomfortable is the first step if we really do try to making the necessary changes that we do need, not just for ourselves, but ultimately for the children, the next generations. Because those children are going to be parents. What sort of parents do you want them to be? Do you want them to be the parent that does the same thing that you're doing? Or do you want them to be parents that do something completely different? Expose your grandchildren, potential grandchildren, to a different kind of life, different kind of resources, different kind of experience. It is tricky, like I said, having a social worker, because all you ever hear is the negative. And yes, I'm not going to sit here and turn around and say that situations don't get to a point where it is unthinkable for the child to remain in that home. There are situations like that. And if you find yourself in that situation and you're being honest with yourself, if you're able to see the situation that your child find themselves as a third party, you would recognize that it is not in their best interest to be there. Sometimes our friends and immediate families that don't know better don't help the situation, because they give you a false sense of hope and belief that everything's okay when it is not okay. Sometimes it is because maybe they haven't got all the information. Maybe because you haven't shared all the information with them. If they do have the information, sometimes they can step in and help a little bit better. They can step in and maybe give you a break to say, okay, is it okay if I look after your child at this period of time? Because that's what we try to do. If you're struggling, is there somebody that you can call to say, I'm not in a good place right now. Can you take them for 2 minutes? I'm not in a good place right now. Can you take them overnight? And not just having that access to free childcare, but also access in walking that journey to recovery, because that's also a crucial aspect as well. The tragedies that have happened to children like Victoria Kulebe, like Baby P, like Sky, like all of the other children that have passed on. We do our very best to make sure it doesn't happen to your child. And the only way we can do that is by working together. We all have the same goal, which is protecting your child. Sometimes it may not seem like that, but that's the ultimate priority of children's services. Family is what we make of it. What is your story, and what would you like your children to know about yours? I hope you like what we're all about. If this content is for you, please like, subscribe, and join our community. Engage in the comment below if you've got any questions. Until next time, make sure you look after yourself and stay safe. Bye for now.